Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the Wednesday Night Wars podcast right here on Fightful.com. I am Mr. Warren Hayes, sitting in for Sean Ross Sapp, who is out getting a haircut. Essentially, Sean is out in AEW tonight. He's over in Cleveland. Got a little setup with AEW with Brandy Rhodes to get his haircut, but there'll be more of that over the next couple of days.
Co-opted,
yes, indeed. And he'll be back. He'll be telling you all about what happened because he's gonna dig it, but he did it for a good cause. I haven't even seen the haircut yet. No one's seen the haircut as of yet. We're really looking forward
that we know of.
I mean, it's been rumored. We've seen pictures of locks of hair. But that's pretty much it. But tonight, we're going to be talking about AEW and NXT right here on the Wednesday Night Wars podcast. And tonight I am joined by Jeremy Lambert, who is taking up half of the screen right now. Jeremy, introduce yourself, say hello to the folks while I fix the screen again.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be here, filling in, bumping things around, making Warren's job harder. That's what I like to do.
Why does it do that? This is ridiculous. Well, at least I'm glad you're here, Jeremy. Jeremy might be podcasting for the very last time with glasses tonight, folks. So do mark that on your calendars. Might be a historic event, and it's always a historic event when we have Alex Pawlowski with us. Alex, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Let's talk about Wednesday wrestling, which is the best day wrestling.
That's why we want Alex on for this type of high level analysis. And if you want more of that, You can subscribe to Fightful Select over at FightfulSelect.com, where you will get more of Alex Pawlowski and his sour graps stuff. Alex contributes these shows where he gives you, an outright negative review of everything that has to do with WWE Raw and SmackDown twice a week.
It's an honest review. I call them like I see them. I just see things that suck. So, that's the way it works.
So it's also the best way to support Fightful, of course, right? By heading over to Fightful Select and becoming a member there. You've got all sorts of tiers, all sorts of goodies, all sorts of great stuff. And if you want to show a little love here this evening, you can drop us a super chat as well. And I will read your question or comment or statement on the air right here live, because obviously I need to invest in different broadcasting software so that Jeremy stops taking over. So guys, Sean has established this tradition. Let's go with it. Let's move forward. In one word, Alex, who won tonight, AEW or NXT?
NEW.
That doesn't exist. That's bunk. That's just bunk.
AXT.
Jeremy, what about you? One word.
Broserweights.
That's not the thing, but okay. Jesus, how does Sean control you people?
This is like when there's a substitute teacher, and we decided to just totally screw with you because you don't actually have authority, man.
It's a hard. I find it's a hard one this week because I don't think either show was particularly strong, but I think NXT had some overall better matches. But we're going to start by talking about AEW tonight, where oddly enough this week, Jeremy, usually, or before we do, we just have we have a super chat that just popped in. That arrived from DJ Cass, who says, "Am I the only one who thought the main event of NXT went too long?" I caught a bit of it. I thought it went pretty well. Alex, you were on NXT duty tonight. What'd you think?
Well, I mean, they're doing this thing now with all the Dusty Classic stuff has to last 20 minutes. So, it was not the best Broserweights match in the tournament. That was the first round. But I mean, it was not what I expected from the match. It was very good, but it wasn't like this thing where like, oh my God, the Grizzled Young Vets are on the map now, even though they lost. That was some amazing stuff. I've seen them do better in WWE in the NXT UK matches than what I saw tonight. So that was a little off, which is why it was difficult to like go NXT AEW, because both things were good, but not great. So it's hard to like, yeah.
All right, well, let's move on. Let's actually get into AEW. I teased it. Now we're going to jump in. It starts off, oddly enough, like I was about to say, Jeremy, with a promo, whereas an opening talky talk segment, whereas usually our boys over at AEW, Jeremy, they start off hot with a match week after week, mixing it up a little bit. Basically with Jon Moxley coming out saying that the fun and games with Jericho are done since he was stabbed in the eye, which is usually something that happens. He says, that he's never been a saint, but Jericho is definitely not a saint as well, referencing to a bunch of stuff he's done in the past, going back as talking about the time he stole Rey Mysterio's mask and he once punched a lady. Jeremy, I thought that was some interesting callbacks right there.
Yeah, they've been doing some callbacks to WWE throughout this entire feud, so I didn't have a problem with Moxley doing that. My issue with Moxley right now is I can't take him serious with that eye patch, looking too much like Solid Snake from the video games,
or Snake Plissken from Escape from New York.
Yeah, like one of the snakes. He's just looking like one of the snakes. Or people have compared him to like a bad Bond villain. It's just, all right, what are you doing here, Moxley? I liked his promo. It was good. I like Jericho's portion a lot better. I thought Jericho had some really good one-liners in there, outside of the fact that he compared Moxley to Captain Jack Sparrow, which is like the only pirate that doesn't wear
a jacked up, cracked up version of Jack Sparrow, which is probably why. That was probably brought up because of the eye patch. Jericho talked about seeing Moxley's mom backstage. Yeah, it was sure. The rest of the Inner Circle comes out after Jericho's bit, and they say, or actually, he says, Moxley basically says, I can take the five of you guys on because I've got all of the people of Ohio to fight with me. Okay. But then Santana and Ortiz brought out five thugs from South Bronx to bring it up to 10-on-1, and they all start brawling, and then security and officials come to break it up, despite the fact that Moxley was able to hit the paradigm shift on Ortiz. Not quite sure what this ended up doing. Because Moxley was able to walk away from this. I'm a little confused by this outcome, Jeremy. I don't know what you think.
I didn't like this at all. It felt very long. The crowd seemed like they were out of it. First off, the Cleveland crowd is a bunch of cowards. Sean was there. Carlos Toro, I'm calling you out as well. Like, y'all should have jumped the crowd or jumped the Inner Circle. Moxley said it was all of them.
Moxley gave you permission. That holds up. That holds up in court.
Right.
If they arrest you for jumping the barricade, they can say, that man with the microphone told me I could.
Yeah. We've seen people get away with worse things on wrestling shows, so why couldn't they jump the barricade and attack the Inner Circle? So Cleveland stands for cowards now. I didn't really care for the ending portion of this segment. It just felt very long, and like you said, Warren, we're not used to these 20-minute opening promos from AEW, and that's exactly what this was. It was a 20-minute segment.
With all the feuds here and there that Inner Circle are picking with a lot of people, I'm kind of surprised that no one came out to help out Mox. We have the alpha male complex in WWE where, despite the fact that Roman Reigns gets attacked by 7 other guys, no one in the locker room comes out to save him, kind of thing, because he's the alpha male, so he has to handle his business all by himself. To me, Roman always ends up looking stupid, or I'm like, why doesn't he have any friends? And I kind of felt that with Mox, and I said, why is no one coming out? It's a 10-on-1 the Bucks have a past with Santana and Ortiz. Where was Dustin Rhodes? Doesn't he have a thing with Jake Hager? Like, there could have been.
Darby and Private Party were facing him in the main event.
That could have added a little heat to the main event. That's a great idea. So I don't know. it felt a little strange to me. Speaking of strange, we got an MJF vignette where he went into a butcher shop. You like this?
This was good.
Yeah, okay.
Alex is excited.
I think I'm going to throw this one to Alex. MJF shows up in a butcher shop to give the butcher, the blade, and the bunny an envelope written in cursive, Young Bucks, on it. We assume that there's money inside, and the butcher, the blade, and the bunny, who were in their work attire, suddenly morph into their spooky suits. Alex, what do you think about this?
This was so great. AEW needs to do this. It needs to. Like, the thing that separated Lucha Underground from every other thing with wrestling, the reason why it was so interesting to a small subsect of people, and people who didn't watch it, if you would show it to them, they were like, hey, that's cool. That in particular is very cool. All their backstage stuff wasn't like somebody with an inner... Please welcome my guest at this time, Wrestler X. That's not how they tell stories. They tell stories with scripted, dramatic scenes that always, because it was Lucha Underground, had something supernatural to them. But the idea that, like, MJF, like, instead of, like, saying, oh, hey, I paid the Blade and the Butcher to beat up the Young Bucks, showing us him go to their place of business, which, by the way, the Butcher and the Blade, actual butchers. Awesome. But he comes into the back door, and there's like a side of beef hanging by there, and the door shuts in a really loud way, and MJF like jumps. Like all of that, and then handing the thing over to the bunny, and then the camera pans as they leave, and then pans back to them, and they've immediately changed into all their spooky stuff. That's so great. It completely stands out. It's like nothing WWE would ever do. So if you want to say we are different, we are just as good in a lot of ways, but we also are different. Especially NXT, the one place they really suffer, and I keep hearing this from people who don't like NXT, is they don't tell stories.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have great matches, but the storytelling is leaves something to be desired outside of the top stuff that they're doing with like Cole and Champa. Everything else is kind of like, hey, there's this match that happened, and because this person won that match, he gets to have a match with somebody else. And all of those matches are great, but there's nothing tying them together. So if AEW were to embrace this kind of like scripted outside of the ring storytelling, I think it would completely separate them and make them a real force, like not only just opposite NXT, but opposite all of WWE. It was so cool.
That led us into our first match of the evening, where the Young Bucks defeated the Butcher and the Blade. MJF showed up on commentary alongside Wardlow to make fun of Tony Schiavone's weight. He also said that the Jacksons were supposed to be good Christian boys, but they've threatened him, right? And probably the only verse that they know is Austin 3:16, leaning hard into the WWF references tonight. Lots of double teams from the Bucks at first until the Butcher knocks them down. The Butcher and the Blade stay in control for quite a while during the commercial, but once we're back, it's all about the Bucks. Matt hits sliced bread on Blade and a super kick on Butcher. He does his diving top rope elbow. Rope hung swanton by the Bucks was real nice, and the Meltzer driver puts them away, and MJF is not happy about it. Jeremy, I thought this match was solid.
Yeah, it was fine. It picked up. Matt Jackson does a really good hot tag, and that's when it really picked up into the closing stretch. I liked that, the Butcher and the Blade attacked after the match, and MJF is like, "That's what I paid you for." It's like, okay, AEW tries to portray wins and losses mattering, but MJF paid them to take out the Young Bucks. And so that's what they were trying to accomplish further after the match. I wish they would have used like a chair or a blade. That would have been cool to like really hammer that home. And then, we got the save from Hangman and Omega anyway, but I did like that MJF at least acknowledge like, all right, that's what I paid you to do. Take them out. Like the win and loss, not really important as long as you enjoy.
And that's what they did after in the post-match angle where they went after the Bucks, and Kenny Omega came out for the save alone, only to realize that sauntering behind him, a little further up the ramp,
in jeans and a shirt unbuttoned to like mid-chest,
a beer in hand. Our good friend Adam Page comes into the ring, gives his cup to, I think it's one of the Bucks, and immediately buckshot lariats the Butcher, which I thought was perfect. He didn't waste emotion, gave the glass, hit the move, grabbed the glass, and hit the bricks again. Fantastic stuff.
Chug the beer, finish the beer before leaving. This rule, Adam Page has been awesome.
I really liked the post-match angle a lot more than the match. I thought it was really good. They're doing, tell me more, Jeremy, but they're doing a great job with Adam Page over the past couple of weeks.
He didn't have, the early stages of Adam Page was just like, we're kind of pushing him. We're giving him the title shot, but he's also going 20 minutes with Kip Sabian for no real reason. And there just wasn't much to him. But these past few weeks with the whole drinking stuff, Adam Page is very charismatic. When I talk to this guy at StarCast, one of my favorite interviews of StarCast, because he is just off the cuff, witty and funny, and can really carry things. And they're letting him show that here with this kind of new character. So I'm very happy to see this.
They're doing
Adam
a fantastic job with them. Dante V left us a super chat. That was harder to say than it seems. Thank you very much. He says this vignette was great. I wish they put the Brandy Therapy vignette on Dynamite. Butcher Blade should have won the match, though. Gentlemen, any thoughts on, first of all, the Brandy Therapy vignette being on Dynamite? That would have been a good idea. How about...
Go ahead, Alex.
I mean, I'll say about the end of the match. I think the Butcher and Blade could have won it if you're going to have Kenny Omega come down and Adam Page come down and do his hold my beer moment and the buckshot lariat thing. Then the Butcher and the Blade should have won the match. If you're going to have the Butcher and the Blade lose the match, they need to come out on top on the beatdown. Otherwise, there's no reason for MJF to ever hire them to beat up people again. And I think he's going to over and over and over again, because I think that's what they're setting up the Butcher and the Blade as. But there's no reason in storyline for him to ever trust them to complete their mission. Why would he pay them money when they can't come through? So you have to pick one or the two. Either they win the match and then they get beaten up, or they lose the match and then they beat up the Young Bucks. One of the two has to happen.
Next, we had Nyla Rose defeating Big Swole to cement herself as the number one contender for the AEW World Women's Championship. This was a match that happened. It always breaks my heart when the AEW Women's Division falls short, and it did again tonight. Quite unfortunately, I thought the offense was slow. It was a little soft. Nyla Rose hit one of the worst spears I have seen in a long time, especially coming off just a couple of days ago when you had Edge hitting some of the best spears of his career at his return. And we're ending up with Nyla Rose and Rio again. Jeremy, I don't know at this stage, I don't know what AEW can do with their women's division, especially when you look at what happened on Dark earlier this week. It's for the highs that happened. There are so many lows, confusing lows, because with the talent that they have, I don't think they should be having this much problem.
I like that Swole did the Kobe shout out with the fadeaway. That's my only positive from this match. It wasn't good, as you said. It was slow. The offense did not look good. Just their women's division is a mess. Like, no one has any real traits that you can get behind. No one's on TV established. Like, it's Baker and Riho, and Baker's done. We'll talk about her later, but I think she's fantastic right now. And I'm a big fan of Riho, but the rest of these women, they're just like their records are all like around 500, and I don't really know like what they're building to. There's no real So you mentioned stories earlier, Alex. Like, there's no stories in the AEW women's division outside of Britt Baker.
Nope.
There you go. I mean, that's a confirmation right there.
No, there aren't. I mean, no. I mean, like, this is the thing, is that I'm looking at this and I agree. There are several women who I feel like would benefit from, I don't know, a storyline or being pushed in a way that I like Rio too, but I don't like her as champion because she's not there and there's no connection to her either way. Like, I mean, do we hate her? Do we like her? Is she
small.
there? She's small and she wears like this baby doll outfit. So I guess she's an underdog. Great, awesome. And what? Like you have? I mean, I think there's a time that you could actually push Rio as the face of your women's division and see where that goes. Starting out your women's division in that way is really hard. Either you have to have some monster heel everyone has to chase, and maybe that's what they're going to do with Nyla Rose, put the title on her and let everybody chase her, or you have somebody that's charismatic that gets people into it. Wants somebody, like, we want to watch this person defend their title, heel or face, something. But right now it's just like nothing. There's just nothing there. But Britt Baker is becoming a heel you would want to see beat, but she's not a part of this title match, so she's not going to be a champion.
But here's the thing as well, is that Britt, and we've talked about it multiple times on the show, as Britt is not ready to be in a position where she has to carry anything as far as the women's division goes. She may be developing a really good character right now, but as we've seen multiple times, she's still a little greenish. Whereas they have women that have, there are women that they have currently right now signed that they are just completely not using, who have the experience, who have put in the matches and the hours. And I'm just thinking of Bea Priestley off the top of my head, that they're sitting on and not doing anything. I understand that she has her obligations with Stardom. That's fine. But something has to happen here, and there's something in the production, there's something in how these matches are put together that's just not clicking. And I think it goes beyond stories. I think it goes beyond creating compelling characters. There's something within the composition of how they put their matches together which is just not there. It's not happening. As the kids like to say, it ain't it. But anyway,
it's not it. Good reference.
Thank you.
There,
I'm
Warren.
hip with the youth. Tank Bearclaw left us a super chat saying, "This was a match, you guys," referencing my catchphrase. Thank you very much for that, Tank. Cody Rhodes defeated Kip Sabian in another match that we had here this evening. Sabian, I like the idea that he just went straight off after Cody when the match started, hit a gutbuster immediately on him. Arn Anderson is there ringside as well, and he starts to get involved, starts shoving Arn Anderson around, and props to Kip Sabian. I would never shove Arn Anderson around. That's the last guy I want to do. Maybe him and Dan Moff are two guys I would never want to push around. They trade some strikes, Cody and Sabian on the floor, but Cody accidentally knocks out Penelope Ford, but we find out it's a ruse. As Cody picks her up and Sabian runs and kicks Cody down, Penelope shifts her weight in a body press. Ha ha ha, they're such in tune. Cut to a commercial where where most of Sabian's offense gets in. Penelope hits the heel move of the night by keeping Cody from tossing his weight belt into the audience. And then Arn starts arguing that Penelope was going to use her shoe when he gets into the ring, gets into a confrontation with the referee. The referee tosses him because he chest bumps him. And then on the outside, a little later, Penelope and Kip Sabian come to kiss each other right on the corner of the ring. But Joey Janela pops out of nowhere and eats the kisses between them both. Anyway, look, this all ends with a couple of crossroads for Cody. This was a little overbooked for my taste, Jeremy.
I've liked just about everything Cody has done in AEW. This was, as the kids say, not it. Arn got tossed, and I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. Like, maybe that'll show like Cody does need him in his corner because he can't win without Arn, and it establishes how important he is. It's like, no, Cody just kind of wins anyway, and Kip Sabian's just overbooked is the right word for it. Kip Sabian doesn't do a whole lot for me. I kind of feel bad for Joey Janela. It's just not a fan of this match overall, and just the way they put it together.
That they put Sabian in a match here where he's in a feud with Joey Janela that could help get he and Janela over, but they're putting Sabian in positions where he has to take the L. It's kind of strange.
It's the same thing with like Alex said, like with the Butcher and the Blade. You're going to pay these guys off to try to build them up, but then you just beat them down. And it's like, okay, why are we taking these guys serious?
We have a couple of more super chats. We have Tim Trevor, who left us one, good friend of the show, just saying, just having a snack. Wow, it's fantastic. I hope it's a good one, a tasty one. Tank Bear Claw left us another super chat. Says, would AEW benefit from a women's tournament event to get some possible motivations for its division? I like that idea. Jeremy, what do you think about an AEW women's tournament?
It's better than what they're doing now.
Fantastic point. Highlight of the night here: Britt Baker comes out to crap some more on Tony Schiavone and on JR as well, saying you sit there in smug judgment of my division, my generation, sitting there collecting a big paycheck. Stop being a barbecue salesman who can't even get our women's division's names right, Jim. And here I am sitting here and I'm like, has someone been reading my Twitter timeline and taking copious notes because it sounds pretty verbatim to what I often tweet? And she diagnoses Tony Schiavone with moderately to severe gingivitis, which I thought was fantastic, and ends by saying that Cleveland finally has a Baker they can trust in. Alex, I don't know if you got the whole of the promo, but this was really
good. Wait, did you get the reference
for the Baker? No, that's why I'm throwing it immediately to you guys. Alex, did you get to see the promo?
I did not get to see the Baker reference. I did, however, get to see the JR barbecue. He's just a sloppy barbecue salesman who can't even get the names of the talent right. And I'm like, is she a heel or a truth teller? Like she's just telling the truth. Like no lies detected. Like that's some good stuff right there for Britt Baker.
Britt Baker was out there shooting on JR and Schiavone. I love this promo. I like that, as Alex said, complete truth telling on her part. She sounded a lot more comfortable this week, and maybe that was due to the wind and everything wasn't completely messing her up on that cruise. And I like the shot at Cleveland at the end because they're cowards, and so make fun of their quarterback who was overrated.
There you go. Backstage, we have the Elite. The Bucks are saying that they're going to climb to the top of the division to get a shot at the titles. Sure. And Paige arrives with his belt, with his nameplate newly affixed, and hands the Bucks their nameplates for when they're eventually going to win the title. So he's basically saying, you're eventually going to win them off of us. Not quite sure what that meant, but it was a fun little moment nonetheless. It did set up an 8-man tag next week for all 4 members of the Elite versus Butcher and the Blade, and a team of their choosing, which turns out to be the Lucha Brothers.
Why would you pick them?
I don't know. Because do they have a winning record against the Bucks? Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe, but I don't think they have a winning record against anybody else. They've been
there are a couple of tag teams that are horribly mismanaged booking wise in AEW. It's the Lucha Bros who are like Pentagon at least has an amazing look. His whole aesthetic would be super interesting to like teenage boys. Like you could really draw in an audience even more and more. And Phoenix is outstanding. And the other tag team, we're going to see them later, are Evans and Angelico, who are amazing athletes and just get booked like
Now let's talk about it.
losers.
Where SCU defeated Hybrid 2, Angelico and Jack Evans. SCU come out in wearing Kobe's colors, number. And SCU get a lot of double team offense here. Evans eats one of Kazarian's nutsoid Germans where he just lands way too awkwardly on his neck. Kazarian, I don't know if he does it on purpose or if he needs to pull back a bit, but his Germans have been looking particularly dangerous for the past couple of weeks. During the commercial, Sky eats a lot of the heel offense. And you know what, Jeremy? I don't know if you noticed, but I sort of took note of it. A lot of the heel offense in all of the matches we saw so far was happening during the commercial, and then we'd come back to the babyface offense. I don't know, it kind of grated me a little bit.
I did not notice that, but that's a good spot by you. And yeah, if the weird thing when they do these commercial breaks is like Jim Ross is like, we're not going anywhere, don't go anywhere. And then they go to commercial, and of course they do the picture-in-picture stuff. But how many people are like really paying attention to that picture-picture stuff? And like, how much does that really get somebody over? So if you're trying to establish these heels, and this is kind of an issue, they haven't. Like, there's MJF, there's Jericho. Like, am I missing like really established heels on the men's side that I just can't think of right now? That's pretty much it. They're not doing a great job, and Alex just mentioned it about the tag teams with Angelico and Jack Evans. Like, I didn't care about this match. I never bought that Evans and Angelico were going to win. I thought it was like, all right, let's just give SCU a bounce back win, and that's exactly what it was. And it's like, all right, cool. Like, sometimes you need that, but I didn't have a reason to care about this match because they haven't done anything with Evans and Angelico. They're just guys.
And I don't think the audience was really into it as well. Kazarian did his best to wake the crowd up with a spinning flapjack and a cutter as well. I find Angelico is unmotivated. I think he's very, very loose and not very crisp. But NSCU later ends this match.
Well, he's having an identity crisis. He can't decide if he's the skeleton or a map of the central nervous system. He's just basically split down the middle. He can't decide which way to go. I mean, I understand. It's very existential.
We have a quick...
You've made more sense of this than they have.
Straight off the bat right there. Way too much thought put into it. The Dark Order appear on screen to tell Christopher Daniels that the Exalted One is unhappy with him and that they're going to target his brothers in SCU. Okay. I thought Christopher Daniels was feuding with Pentagon. Whatever. We get another vignette with Pac, who says that he's coming for Kenny Omega. He's like, yeah, Kenny Omega. I'm glad you finally acknowledged me. Yeah, like 3 weeks ago. But I think
this was another thing.
I'm going to throw it to you, Alex. I think, he says that things are happening on his timetable. He's coming for blood. Looking at the production value here, I think Pac is a vampire.
Well, this is the other thing is that all this thing shot outside on a staircase, black and white, grainy, like it would flip back and forth. It would show him going back up the stairs in fast motion and then back down and all this kind of stuff. And he's fully in his gear. It was really weird and listen, why I love it. It felt very arty, like an art house type of a thing. And again, this is something that they're not doing on any WWE programming. So it just helps them to stand out. And I see stuff like this, and this is like, if you're going to do pre-recorded promos, do them like this. They're so much more visually interesting to watch. If I see somebody being interviewed backstage or standing in what is obviously somewhere, in the bowels of the arena, and I tune out. I can listen to it kind of halfway. I'll check my phone. But all of a sudden I see Pac in black and white coming down a staircase, and he's got this crazy look in his eye. Why is he in his gear? Why is he black and white? What staircase is that? Is he in a public park? I can't look away because it's so different than anything else that they're presenting. So I frankly, I don't understand why you wouldn't choose to do something different than the thing that's been tried and true and, well, definitely tried, not so much true anymore, over and over and over again in the other place.
I still think Pac is a vampire. Next week, Cody takes his 10 lashes, and we're going to get Britt Baker versus Yuka Sakazaki. Well, that'll be fun. Main event time, Darby and Private Party lost to Chris Jericho and Santana and Ortiz. Look, to me, the MVP of this match was Darby Allin, and I'm going to throw it rapidly to you, Jeremy. I thought he had a great explosive exchange with Jericho at first. I loved his drop kick and his lucha arm drag that sent Jericho cowering in his corner after Jericho was like flexing and thinking he was some kind of tough guy. And his hot tag that he got was spectacular. Got the crowd on its feet. It was so good. Hit a tope and a sunset bomb. And he even did a coffin drop to the outside onto Jake Hager. I thought he was the unparalleled star of this match.
Yeah, Darby is so good in this role, and Jericho is clearly willing to give him these moments, give him these spots. Cody's talked about just continuing to put Darby over, and Darby always gets a reaction from the crowd as well. He's one of those guys where, they talked about building a lot of people up, and we want them to build a lot of people up. Darby is a guy they've handled very well, even though he hasn't actually won a whole lot. Like, he's actually lost a whole lot, but he's still over because of his gimmick and just his connection with the crowd. I thought Darby was a big shining star in this match, especially compared to Private Party, where it looked like they had something with them early, especially after beating the Young Bucks, and now the crowd is just kind of lukewarm towards them, and they still do cool moves and stuff, but there's not a whole lot else to Private Party. At least it seems like there should be more with
After the match, the Inner Circle beat up the baby faces. They focus particularly on Darby, and they attack him with the skateboard, hit him straight in the throat. I think it was Sammy Guevara who actually went for it. And then Jon Moxley runs in. See, he doesn't care. He'll run in and save the day. Runs in with a lead pipe, starts swinging it around, takes out the bad guys. Where are the goons, though, Jeremy? Where are the 5 extra guys that Santana and Ortiz brought in?
They got paid by the hour. They were let go after hour one. Moxley came out with a black baseball bat. Okay, here's this crazy thing.
If you make a comparison with Sting, Dean
Ambrose has morphed so gradually into Crow-era Sting that I didn't even notice it as it was happening. But he's made the full transformation now, guys. Basically, all he's got to do is stand up in the rafters and wear the face paint. He's him now.
He's got the eye patch, which is maybe the first step to the face paint. He comes down through the crowd, which is close to the rafters.
He's got the black baseball bat, which is like, if you got the black baseball bat, you're 90% of the way there. And then it's the way he's doing like the one to the ribs, one to the back, one to the ribs, one to the back, over and over again.
I'm ending these takes right here. That was AEW Dynamite for tonight. Let's start talking about NXT. Just before we get into it, we saw an enigmatic image tonight. We had 5 circles appear. 3 of them had numbers in them. The number 5, the number 20, the number 2. Oh, and by the way, if you want to send us a super chat, by the way, if you want to support the show, that's still a great way to do it right here. And I'll read your statement. Don't forget, also subscribe to Fightful Select. But coming back to these circles, very enigmatic, appeared. Didn't know exactly. It wasn't tied into the show anywhere, Alex. Alex, I know that you're you're high on numerology. I know, you look to the stars quite a bit. You're high on, you're very high on things that happen in the stars. Cartomancy. Tell me, Alex, what does all this mean?
Well, if you understand now, the number 2 is all the numbers correspond to letters of the alphabet. So it's number 2 is B, number 5 is E, number 20 is T. BET, Black Entertainment Television. Now, if you look over here, now I don't know. I will say that it also appears to be the date 2/5/20.
Yeah, that's what I got from it.
Which the problem was that they didn't do it in that order. They did like 2:25, and I was like, 2 times 25, that's 50. 50 what? And no, it's a date. Oh, it's 2/5/20 next week. Oh, what's that? Oh, well, what I'm thinking is probably going to be a Velveteen Dream return, which the thing about him is that, God, man, I love him so much, and he's such a charismatic, amazing presence. Like, he's the kind of guy who could draw eyes to NXT just by being on there every week. You know, he's going to have something to say, a match, whatever. I feel like he went out right after they debuted on NXT. And I don't know if he had been there the whole time as North American champion for a while, a feud with Roderick Strong, whatever, if that would have kept NXT closer to AEW in ratings. I don't. I have a theory that it might have, and I guess we might be able to see that depending on what they do with him, because they just put his old title on Keith Lee, and it feels kind of weird to like insert the Velveteen Dream into that area, considering what they're doing with Keith Lee right now. But I'm looking forward to it, whatever happens.
Penis jokes, Alex. That's what they're gonna do with Velveteen Dream.
Yes. So almost certainly.
Finn Balor defeated Trent Seven after an attack in the parking lot area where Finn Balor choked Trent Seven with his car door. We all thought that this was maybe leading to a match with Tyler Bate, but we're not so lucky. Not yet.
Not yet. I assumed it was going to be more one-sided, the Finn Balor versus Trent Seven match, and then him just keep wailing on him, and then Tyler has to run out and make the save, and they make the match Tyler Bate versus Finn for next week. I think it's very smart to keep Finn occupied and away from Gargano. The first time we see those two dudes touch each other from now until TakeOver should be in that ring at TakeOver. Make it that kind of a thing. But I love Trent Seven. I think it's really he's like your crazy uncle decided to be a wrestler. He doesn't look like he belongs at all. Like he's not so big and like out of shape, like fat or whatever. They're like, oh, that's his gimmick. He's a fat guy, and he's got this crazy hair, the giant beard, and the pointy mustache. He looks totally different than everybody else, and I love watching him because he shouldn't be able to do some of those things that he does. But yeah, he wasn't going to win this match versus Finn Balor. Finn Balor is completely overpowered right now. Nobody's going to take him on. That's why I wanted to see him versus Tyler Bate, because I wanted to see that where Tyler Bate does all of his awesome stuff and it just has no effect on Finn Balor because he's got the cheat code right now.
Yeah, Trent Seven is legitimately me wrestling. That's exactly what I'd look like. That's precisely that. This was an okay match. Seven hits his DDT, Snapdragon, the 7-star Lariat, hit the hits basically, but a shotgun drop kick, the coup de grace in the 1916 puts Seven away. I still like how Finn Balor pulls out all of his finishers just to put away a guy. I think it's great. It's savage. And we're heading towards the match with Johnny Gargano. This was fine. It was an okay opener. Nothing special. Just okay. The Broserweights cut a promo that put a nice focus on their odd couple niche, which was good. And then we got our next match, which was Shotzi Blackheart defeating Deonna Purrazzo. Jeremy, Shotzi's got her tank. She's back on her tank.
Yeah, she stole it from Sammy Guevara, who was outside of the Royal Rumble with it, who stole it from her initially. So it all came back around. I did like that they allowed Shotzi to keep her tank. I know a lot of people were worried about that, and it shows that hey, they're not taking everything away from everyone.
It just brings the character full circle as well. Just with the look and the getup, the helmet, everything. It just the tank is sort of crucial to her thing. Now I'm only wondering if they're going to let her bring Peck back, because Peck needs to be booked. God damn it. Shotzi goes for a springboard armbar early, but is blocked by Deonna, who starts to arm crush it. And that's the story of the match, is essentially Deonna just picking it apart. But in a way, Alex, she just takes the arm apart in a way that only Deonna does. Like she's special when she starts working the arm.
Yeah, she is special, which is why I did not love her utilized in this way. Like, there's got to be somebody backstage who does not have the look, the technique, the overall brilliance of Deonna Purrazzo that you can have job out to Shotzi Blackheart. You have to. There's got to be somebody. What's Reina Gonzalez doing? Like something. Like find somebody who's on a lower level than Deonna Purrazzo to. I mean, I love Shotzi too. It's like one of those things. Like neither one of those women should lose. You should be building them each up as the next generation, so that when the people who are at the top now move over to either SmackDown or Raw, because we assume they are at some point, that there's not a void where it's like, well, why would we believe in Deonna Purrazzo? All she's been doing is losing. There should be like, I don't want 50-50 booking either. I think that there should be women who are at the level that they need to be to work a TV match, and that's it. And then they lose matches. Not Deonna Purrazzo, who's absolutely ready right now. If you told me that I had a month to get Deonna Purrazzo ready to be in a title contention, I could do that easily. Like, she's certainly 4 weeks of episodes of her winning matches, brutalizing people with the arm bar, all that stuff. She's there. She's ready. It's weird to her, like, because this match didn't feel competitive. I know that she was working the arm a while, but it felt like it was like, oh, Shotzi won that thing pretty easily, didn't she? Okay.
I thought they did. I thought they did a good job with the time that they had. Shotzi hits a lung blower in her top rope senton for the win. On the opposite side of the spectrum, someone like Shotzi Blackheart quite a lot backstage, because let's not forget, in the number one contendership battle royal that they had, she tossed Shayna Baszler overboard. When she fought Shayna Baszler, she resisted the Kirifuda clutch, Alex. And now tonight she gets a clean win over Deonna. Someone's into her.
Yeah. Well, what I'm wondering is, it feels like they do stuff like this. They're building her to a point, and all of a sudden she's going to meet her match. I don't know who that is. I don't know what that becomes. She's definitely got a very unique look, aesthetic, all that kind of stuff. They love saying, like, hey, this is different from everything else. Pay attention to this. Whereas on the main roster, they uniformly make everyone the same. But in NXT, it's like, this is something you'll remember. You will remember Shotzi Blackheart if you just passing through, watching certain clips, you go, who's that? That's different than what I've ever seen. And they know how to focus on that, and that's good.
We get a recap of Imperium destroying Undisputed Era at Worlds Collide this Saturday. If you haven't watched the show, it's a good one. Go watch it. Go watch it, but stay for DIY versus Mustache Mountain. That was some good stuff. Then we get Keith Lee, who comes out. Alex, let's talk about Keith Lee's week. North American champion, enters the Royal Rumble, goes toe-to-toe with Brock Lesnar in a weekend, in a Royal Rumble that was filled with talking points, Alex. We haven't talked enough about Keith Lee standing toe-to-toe with Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar's reaction seeing Keith Lee hit the ring. When Brock doesn't need to do much to put a guy over. He just has to look at a guy and go, I'm impressed. For all of us to be like, well, if Brock Lesnar's impressed, I guess I should be impressed. A low-key but fantastic week for your boy Keith, wouldn't you say?
Well, very much so. What I did love about it is that the being impressed thing was a direct result of Brock, at least Brock's character, having never watched NXT. Because he goes, whoa, big boy. And he looks at Paul and he says, who the fuck is this motherfucker? Like, he's never seen Keith Lee before in his life. And I think that's perfectly true to what we think of Brock, whether or not it was actually true in reality. And I love how he walked down to the ring with all the confidence in the world. I said on Sour Graps, hated how he was eliminated because Keith Lee is not a stupid guy, and him accidentally bumping elbows with Braun Strowman and getting so pissed about that he allows himself to be distracted long enough to be eliminated by Brock Lesnar. That's not the Keith Lee we've seen in NXT, and that's really shitty main roster booking that they did to this great guy. But it was an amazing moment to have him in there one-on-one with Brock Lesnar and not back down. That's great. And maybe we get a Brock versus Keith Lee thing. If it's true and Brock says, you and me, kid, Matt Riddle, we're never going to work together, maybe he'd actually work with Keith Lee, and maybe he'd actually sell for a guy like that too. You never know.
He starts cutting a promo, but gets interrupted by Damien Priest, who cuts a promo himself, holding the microphone like he's a 4-year-old holding a spoonful of spaghetti. And then he challenges Keith Lee to the North American title. But then Dominic Dijakovic comes out, and he cuts a promo, calls Damien Priest a bootleg Marilyn Manson. And Lee's like, well, look, if you guys want to figure out who's gonna fight me for the title, figure it out amongst yourselves. And he's just like, go ahead, fight, and he just books it, heads backstage, and we get Damien Priest versus Dijakovic. I like this match quite a bit. It's still outstanding to me how these two guys, strong, big dudes, are able to do what they're able to do. Priest hits a Razor's Edge on the apron on the outside. Dijak suplex tosses Priest, and Priest hits a flatliner. Dijak hits a moonsault to the floor. Priest hits a somersault senton over the top rope to the floor that just crashes on top of Dijakovic's neck. And there's Priest hits a poison rana off the top rope. And these guys are too tall to be doing these kinds of moves. It's ridiculous. But the Feast Your Eyes by Dijakovic puts it away. He's the number one contender for the North American title. We've seen Dijak and Lee before. If you've watched PWG, you've seen Dijak and Lee before. But you know what, Alex? I don't care. This is great.
I agree. It's not official. That match was not an official number one contenders match. They have not made the Keith Lee versus Dijak match yet, but it's like they said at the end, oh, this means Dijak has a claim to be number one contender. Like, okay, either it's the match or it's not the match. It means he's got momentum. What I'm expecting is for Dijak to be one of two guys to face Keith Lee in Portland, and the other guy being one Velveteen Dream. I think that's your triple threat for Portland. I think that Dijak can come out next week and say I should be number one contender, make me number one contender, and then we get Dream coming out and say, hold up, I think I should have that. I should have that opportunity. I think that'd be really great. I love this. You're right. The poison rana scared the hell out of me. It looked like Dijak landed directly on the top of his head. Like, it's just, I think these guys are amazing. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. That's my whole thing. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that you guys are doing. Like, I think it's an amazing thing that a guy that Damien Priest's size can do that, like, step on the middle rope tope thing. But today he went over and directly down, and like his butt landed directly on top of Dijak's spinal cord. And that can be a problem. That could be a thing that might not be a good
thing.
Just for
stuff like walking.
Yeah, you never know. The whole not breathing through a tube thing for the rest of your life. It's very paramount to not having a 270-pound dude land on top of your head. But I digress. The match was fantastic. If Dijak is to be number one contender, we know what matches versus him and Keith Lee are like. They're amazing. So why not do something like that at a takeover instead of on weekly NXT TV? I'm fine.
I hope they don't go with that singles match, though. I'd much rather a triple threat match. Roderick Strong has his whole rematch claim as well. You could throw him in there if you need to. Velveteen Dream, I'm all for if he's coming back. Like, love Velveteen Dream. No offense to Lee and Dijakovic. Love them. They'll have a great match, especially on a takeover setting. It just feels like I've seen that match way too often lately.
We have Tommaso Ciampa, who cuts a promo backstage, and he has a pipe with him, which he uses to take out the three lesser members of Undisputed Era. And then he hits the ring, sets up a table, puts a nice little X on it with some spray paint that he has conveniently brought to the ring with him. And then we see in the backstage, I liked how this was produced. Meanwhile, while he's setting the table up in the ring, you see Adam Cole on the Titantron looking, finding his buddies. Who did this? It's Ciampa. He hits the ring. They have a little verbal scuffle. Ciampa tells him, Cole calls Ciampa a coward. Ciampa says that he's the guy, you know who I am? I'm the guy who never lost that title. I'm Goldie's daddy. And he says that he's going to powerbomb him right through the table. And he's challenging Cole to an NXT title match in Portland. And William Regal suddenly appears and he's really excited. How many times, Jeremy, have we seen William Regal come out like really excited? He's like, hey, I was just backstage finishing this up with Adam Cole. I was coming out here to have you sign this. I thought that was a nice little touch to it.
I like the whole contract signing. Warren, I know you're a huge fan of contract signings, and this was a very clever way to do it without announcing it beforehand, because all they said was Regal's going to announce Adam Cole's opponent, and Ciampa basically was like, I'm the opponent. I'm not waiting for your announcement. Let's sign this contract. I thought this was fantastic.
So basically, William Regal wants to go sign the contract in the ring. Adam Cole's like, nah. And he takes the little document, document, and goes to the ring, tries to get in, tries to blindside Ciampa as he gets in, but Ciampa's a smarty, and he ends up powerbombing Cole through a table, and somehow Ciampa nicks the top of his head, powerbombing a guy through a table, and he's got blood trickling from the top of his skull all the way down his forehead onto. My God, what a and he's hugging Goldie in the middle of the ring. I mean, that's a hell of a visual, Alex.
Oh God, I loved this so much. This was the best thing on NXT tonight, and that includes a match with the Broserweights, who I love and am totally just enamored with. But this. Him creating his own impromptu contract signing by taking out all of Cole's backup backstage. They're not going to be involved now. They can't come and jump me. I'm going to bring this table in with me into the ring. Boom. I'm going to put a big X on it. I thought he was going to do NXT, being like, I'm NXT or whatever, but it's fine. And then he puts out a pen. And when he dropped the pen, I was like, I bet you Warren Hayes found a contract signing that he actually likes, because I love this. And the Cole thing was great too, because what I love about Cole is that he genuinely I feel like he genuinely cares about his henchmen. Like, you beat up these, what the hell, man? That's uncalled for. And I also love that he's not ducking this. He could have easily said to Regal when Regal came out here, saying, no, I'm not going to face that guy. That guy's a maniac. No, I'm not ducking anything. I'm coming down to the ring. And I love that Regal was about to say, you don't get this match anymore because you're uncontrollable. That's something that Regal would absolutely do. I was going to give you this match, but because of the way you've just been acting, you don't get it anymore. And Adam Cole is the one to say, no, boss, I got this. I will face you, and I'm going to kick your ass. I think that's so great again, it was like, Adam Cole's so small. He'll never be a big star. He's so tiny. He's so small. For being such a small dude, and yeah, he is, he never backs down. And that's the thing that makes him such a great heel champion, is he's not a coward. He will always bring the fight right to you. Yeah, he's got 3 guys for backup, but if you had 3 guys for backup, sure, wouldn't you use them? In the matches, though, he never backs down. I think that's so great. And he gets in the ring, and the blood, total happy accident, couldn't have been planned, but it added so much to it. He takes it, he realizes he's bleeding, licks his own palm. That was so great. And then he can't find the pen, so he gets another pen, and he signs it, and then he takes his own blood, and he smears it all over the contract. By the way, that's how you actually do a whole contract signing written in blood, SmackDown. You don't have red lighting to obscure the fact that it's blood on the contract. This was really, really great, completely impromptu. It shows what an amazing sports entertainer. He does say that he is the greatest sports entertainer who has ever lived. That's what Tommaso Ciampa says he is. And man, the ability to be able to improvise on the fly and create so much more drama by utilizing the blood involved. That was so great. I cannot wait for this match at TakeOver Portland. It's going to be awesome.
Another little touch that I loved is, you see Undisputed Era all laid out in the back, and you see Ciampa come around the corner, shirt torn, limping. Yeah. Like he got into a fight. He didn't just take these guys out. Like he laid them out, but it showed they actually got their licks in. And it's a little touch, but as you said, Ciampa is such a good sports entertainer. He's like, I'm going to put these guys over, even though I kicked their ass, because they still got some licks in on me. I thought that was just a small little thing that played really well.
Tegan Knox defeated Dakota Kai as well in our following match. They go right after each other straight off, and I mean there was no other way to start this match. There's a lot of bad blood here. Kai got some kicks in, Knox got a senton in, and they brawl into the audience, then back to ringside, and Kai cracks a kick across Knox's face. My God, that looked a little brutal. Dakota Kai swings the neck brace, but Knox ducks it and instead eats a German suplex. But Candice LeRae arrives at ringside to keep Dakota Kai from using a chair against Tegan Knox. And as the referee's distracted because of all these shenanigans, Knox uses the knee brace across Dakota Kai's face to knock her down and get the win. Little distracted win, a little shenanigan-y win, Alex. But it was a short match. I think they went at a great pace. I bought into the ferocity of it, and it kind of leaves the door open for more possibilities. I don't think it's entirely closed here.
Well, I mean, I hope not, because I mean, this was the last chapter of this blood feud.
True.
It's highly unsatisfying to me. And if you're going to have another chapter, this is the weird thing to do. The way is poetic. Like Tegan Knox is able to beat Dakota Kai by using the brace that Dakota Kai ripped off of her to start the feud. Like that's a poetic end to the feud. To do it in the transitional match seems really odd. And if you're going to have this kind of, there's so many ways you could do it. You could do a DQ. You could do a double count out. They brawl out into the crowd. Dakota Kai runs away. And because of they could have had like a lumberjill match.
No, not that though.
No, I'm
they
saying
could have.
Like they could have done,
but it wouldn't have been a good idea.
Things.
They shouldn't do that.
Wouldn't have been a good idea. A cage match, whatever it is, to like keep these two together so they can't leave or whatever. Or straight up no disqualification. All weapons are legal. Whatever it is, that's your feud. But you don't get to that via the babyface getting a pinfall victory. That's not usually how this is done. I trust NXT. I believe they have something in the works. If what they have in the works is nothing, if this was the end of the feud, nah, I'm not cool with that. This deserved to have a blow-off match at TakeOver. If it still gets one, great, but they got to it in a really roundabout way.
I don't think it's the end of the feud, because if you look on the NXT social media, they posted a picture of Regal like showing the knee brace to Knox and basically being like, you really like use this to win. And so it seems like they're gonna keep it going. I'm with you that the babyface winning this first match is kind of a weird way to get to whatever the end point, especially with how poetic it was. But you could spin it as kind of Dakota Kai being like, you're supposed to be so pure and you use this knee brace against me, like, are you turning into me type of thing. So there's ways they can get around it. I don't think this is the end of the feud, though. I would be shocked if it was.
Chelsea Green was defeated by Kaden Carter on her debut match on NXT as part of the Robert Stone brand. I'm just going to throw this out there, and I know he's a friend of the show and so on, and so, he's a friend. Well, not friend of... He's a friend of Fightful. Malcolm Bivens, Stokely Hathaway, Jeremy.
It was dark segment tonight. He's getting there.
Robert Stone. I mean, I'm okay with Robert Stone. That's not the that's not the issue. So why are they? I don't understand why they're still sitting on Malcolm Bivens at this point. It's ridiculous.
I think because the guys he's quote unquote managing on the house shows ain't ready for prime time. I think they got to find the right guy for him to get
or gal
his hooks into and manage, or gal. I mean, I feel like if you're doing that with Robert Stone, that's it. That's
sure.
the gimmick. Like, I feel like it'd be weird to like have the Michael Bivens do it as well. But whatever. I like Chelsea Green a lot. She's got this weird version of a curb stomp thing where she like pulls arms back in a surfboard, puts her foot between the shoulder blades, and then shoves them in the bottom turnbuckle. Mm-hmm. That looks just vicious. I think this is really, really great. It's a weird thing to be like that. They obviously had planned for Chelsea Green and Deonna Purrazzo to be a tag team. They gave them logos with the same font, C and D, like they debuted them standing next to each other at a takeover, and they're like, okay, just kidding. One of you is going to be with Robert Stone. We're going to be doing this thing. The other one is going to be separate. You're both going to lose. It was a weird thing. I think that's cool because Kaden Carter has a very interesting energy. She's very upbeat. Like a lot of people, she's an easily root for-able babyface. And Chelsea Green has a lot of great heelish tendencies. I think we're going to get more of these matches. It'd be kind of like a cool little, hey, every time these two women wrestle on NXT TV, it's fun to watch. But I don't feel like it's going to like really lead anything. But I did like Kaden Carter being smart enough to do the small package out of the woman opponent taunts the crowd by saying, take a picture, it'll last longer, because she's Pee Wee Herman.
It was a surprising result, right? It was surprising, and I think
yes,
it all depends where they go with this moving forward. But I agree, Kaden Carter has upside. There's nothing. I don't think there's anything horrible with this decision outside of just it being a little weird that, they put Chelsea on some main roster matches. They put Deonna on some main roster matches. Bring them back to NXT, and they both lose like on their debuts or re-debuts, whatever you want to call them. It's kind of interesting. But the match was fine for what it was. Nothing much to it. Otherwise, the Broserweights defeated the Grizzled Young Veterans to become the 2020 Dusty Cup Classic winners, and to face the Undisputed Era for the NXT tag team titles at TakeOver Portland. Jeremy, interesting enough, the Broserweights defeated nothing but UK teams to get to this point in the cup.
Well, it was all NXT versus
that's
NXT
true.
UK stuff, so it makes sense that they would beat in a NXT
fantastic
UK
analysis, Warren. Thank you very much. You're right. There were I really enjoyed this match. This was a lot of fun. There was a lot of big moves by the baby faces early on. Big suplex by Riddle and the moonsault on the floor by Dunn. The Grizzled Young Veterans hit the Pescado pile driver onto Dunn to the floor. I'm always a little surprised when I see pile drivers in WWE. Riddle gets some great offense in on Gibson, a senton, a PK, and a German suplex with a bridge. And I mean, tonight, Matt Riddle looked like me playing WWE 2K and spamming the senton button. Because that's that's all he was doing tonight. But it's not a knock. It was fantastic.
Yeah. No, I'm completely in love with the Broserweights. Just completely in love with them. And this is great because Grizzly Young Vets looked great too. There's a couple of great things that assisted, like I think it was a shoulder breaker onto Dunn on the outside that Drake went over the thing. That was really great. My favorite thing though by far was near the end where they had Riddle set up for the what's their finisher called?
The Ticket to Ride.
Set a cool Ticket to Ride. They had set up for that, and I love when things when moves are obviously countered, like it's so perfectly done, like, oh, of course he would counter it with that, so that Riddle was able to like go back over, so that he was able to then do the his finisher, the bro
mission,
bro Derek.
Yeah.
That he's like a little gotch like thing that he does, that was so cool, that but it went directly from one to the other one. All of Dunn's and Riddle's tandem offense, it feels like they've been doing this for years. Like, all of it makes perfect sense. They found ways of working in each of their stuff. The fact that they're just like, hey, on a whim, how about we win this tag tournament we've never tagged before? Yeah, that's great. That's kind of the key to success in the Dusty Classic. I mean, first it was like Samoa Joe and Finn Balor was like, hey, why not? Let's beat all these other tag teams. I think it was like twice we've ever gotten an actual tag team win this thing, and 3 times not. So you mentioned it being a UK team that they were facing there. They faced all UK teams. It was weird to me that once it came down to the Broserweights, a stateside team, and the Grizzly Young Vets, a UK team, they didn't just say, you know what, let's do this at Worlds Collide.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was a perfect time for it. Neither team was involved in they could have done it there. That was what I'm saying. But I'm fine with this. Obviously, the result is correct, because you get the Broserweights versus O'Reilly and Fish, which is going to be an amazing match. I'll tell you right now, I think they should pull the trigger. I think that the story coming out of Takeover Portland should be the prophecy, which had been fulfilled when all 4 members of UE were holding belts, now is no more. I think that Cole should lose, and UE should, and old Red Dragon team should lose, and you have them now trying to pick up the pieces and move on, figure out where they're going to stand after that, because you could easily run a lot of these great teams versus Dunn and Riddle and have fun
there's
matches.
A lot of great stuff to still have here. Jeremy, do you have any final thoughts on the match?
I thought a tad long. I thought it was going to end with the bro to end, I guess they called it. Yeah. I really thought that was the finish, and I was shocked he even kicked out. Like, all right, if you're gonna make the save, fine. Don't kick out of something like that. That's combining 2 finishers right there, and you're gonna kick out.
That has been used on all 3 matches, and all 3 matches it's not been the end, because they have the other thing they do, which is like the knee and the kick. And that's the thing that wins it. I agree with you. They call it the Riddle end instead of the bitter end, and I agree with you. That should be your finisher.
It was. So I thought it should have ended there, but even the closing stretch was still really strong. With when it didn't end there, I thought Grizzled Young Vets were gonna win, because they hit a lot of big moves on Riddle and Dunn. Was Dunn legal?
No.
He scored the pinfall, but I feel like Riddle was legal for some reason.
To me, every tag team match now is an AEW rules match. I don't know who's legal anymore, and it doesn't really matter. But this was a good match. It was a great way to end the show, just like it's a great way to end this show as well. We're going to wrap it up for this evening. Thank you all for tuning in. I want to thank my 2 cohorts here as well. Jeremy, who, of course, is the master of all articles on Fightful.com, but also you have a project now. You have a podcast with our boy Joe as well. Tell us about that.
Yeah, The Distraction, every Thursday at 7. I think that's our time slot. We're new to the time slot. We talk about a lot of different stuff, and we hope our bosses don't listen, because we don't always talk about wrestling.
I'm on the record right now. I'm going to give Joe and Jeremy money for them to do a rewatch and recap of Backlash 2018. I want that to happen. It'll be a good time. Alex, let the people know what you do around these parts.
You can follow me on the Twitter at Alex Sour Graps. The reason the Sour Graps is in the Twitter handle is because I have a show called Sour Graps on FightfulSelect.com, which you should totally subscribe to. even if all you use it for is my podcast, which you totally should listen to. It's a great one. At 62 cents an episode at maximum. Sometimes if I might do an extra one. That's really, really good deal for just my show. Plus, you don't just get the show, you also get all kinds of other stuff. You should totally subscribe to FightfulSelect.com and watch
you can trust
Sour Graps.
You get Sasha Banks news.
Sasha Banks news.
Yes.
And you can get more of honest Alex Pawlowski over there on FightfulSelect.com. And you can follow me as well on Twitter at Mr. Warren Hayes or at my own channel at YouTube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much for tuning in this evening. We'll see you next time.